Good morning. You are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. I am Catherine Bell, and welcome to the Dream Journal, a weekly show where we explore the healing powers of your nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with you. In the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Today's music is called extemporal. How can we create spaces of pleasure for queer and Black people? And what about dream spaces? Today, our guest is Tuere Khanyisa. She is an avid lucid dreamer, and she has ideas. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. The Dream Journal is also a podcast, so you can look for that in all podcast platforms and also on the KSQD website at ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. Look for the Dream Journal, review it, subscribe, and most importantly, tell your friends. It helps people find the show, and it gives you a great excuse to talk about dreams. Maybe they didn't even know you're interested in dreaming. But they will soon. Okay. So I had a dream this morning I woke up with. And there was a lot going on, but one of the interesting things is that I was certain in the dream that I was going to court and I was going to be prosecuted for some crime. And I was just walking in of my own free will that I was going to get prosecuted. And I never could find the courthouse. Well, I couldn't find the courtroom. I was in the what I thought was the courthouse, but all I could see were swimming pools. There was like lots of different swimming pools, and there was a sense of a hospital about it. And I never saw a courtroom. And it got me thinking about assumptions. Like, when do we assume things are a certain way? Assume that I'm a criminal, to assume that I'm going to be prosecuted. And it shows up in the dream right here that I have this assumption, and yet there's no evidence for it in the dream. So that's something I'm mulling over, is to look about the evidence. And I suggest you consider that with your dreams. Is there something that you're assuming that may or may not actually be true? So I will be accepting call-ins during the last 30 minutes of the show, or you can email us anytime at onair@ksqd.org. Rick Clevel is standing by on looking at the emails. So welcome to Tuere.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. So thanks so much for being on the show. Tuere Khanyisa is a Charlotte native who earned her bachelor's and master's degree at North Carolina Central University. She works as a writer, editor, and cultural worker, curating celebratory, trans, and queer spaces as the founder of Black Femme Brunch. Her messianic imperative is to serve the Black, queer, and trans community with the radical notion that pursuing pleasure is an affirming, powerful, and reclaimed right of Black people's humanity. Oh, that's a manifesto right there. She works to demystify understandings of kink, pleasure, spirituality, psychology, and sex positivity by offering people safe containers to explore and encounter them all without judgment. Tuere is a gamer, gardener, pleasure activist, spiritualist, and dream worker. Joy is the central pillar of everything she does. Tuere, wow, I think that sounds like you're actually setting up these spaces. You have more than ideas. You have creations.
Yes, I do. Definitely trying to manifest spaces for queer and trans Black people to experience pleasure, joy, mysticism, and everything in between.
It sounds like we all could use more of that, but especially, oppressed communities like the Black and queer communities, especially that intersectional community there, probably doesn't have a lot of experience of joy and pleasure.
Yes, we have to cultivate these things for ourselves so that we can continue to keep up the fight for, equality, for recognition, just to better ourselves. I think it's really important to create places where we can unwind and just be ourselves. And that's what sustains our ability to continue to survive, and not only survive, but thrive. It's really all about pleasure.
Yeah. I love it. I do want to get a little bit into your background, but let's start right out with some of these spaces. What do they look like, and what have you discovered?
Oh my gosh, they are beautiful.
Mm.
It's a paradise. It's really a wonderful thing to create a space for Black people who are queer and trans to just exist and just be and get to see that there are different ways to express how you are, how you present your gender, your identity, your sexuality,
Hmm.
your relationship to pleasure. It's very unusual that you see a place that's dedicated just to queer and Black trans people, that's there to celebrate and uplift them, not a movement to sort of like maybe stop police violence or stop some kind of harm, but a movement to expand pleasure, to
Mm.
expand joy. It looks gorgeous, let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I bet. So, do you like just on the logistical level? Do you advertise for these places? Do you hold them in like existing centers, or what do you do? How do you actually create such a place?
That's a great question. So I made this program. Well, it's not really a program. It's like a an expanding event. It's just like an unfolding of art called Black Femme Brunch
Uh huh.
with some of my friends about 8 years ago or so. And what we do is that we create a space for people to come to. We do movie nights. We have like hangouts at bars. If we have that, we'll create art builds where we all get together and make art. If it's good or if it's bad,
Ah,
it doesn't matter.
it
It's just
doesn't
for
matter
fun.
exactly.
Yeah, parties, all kinds of like themed things where you have to like dress as a certain in a certain theme. So people's interpretations of stuff is actually really fun. So we've been doing that for years, and it started with like 12 people, and then now it's like thousands of people
Wow.
connect to us on IG and Facebook at Black Femme Brunch. And it's not just brunch. That's what it started as, but now it's gotten to be so many things that we just can't change the name. So
Right.
just
Well,
continue to call it that.
the brunch thing has a certain connotation of like, Sunday morning casual kind of sleeping in, eggs and bacon and whatever, coffee, like hangout. It's kind of a
Yeah,
hangout vibe. So I think it fits, even if it's not always about brunch.
right, right.
That's wonderful. So, why don't we go back and talk a little bit about how you got interested in these things? Like, how did you start to recognize? Well, no, we haven't even really brought in dreams, and I know dreaming is an important part of who you are and what you do. So, actually, before we go, let me back up again. Before we go into your history, let me talk a little bit about dream spaces. Is that something that's part of the Black Femme Brunch, or is that a separate space?
I mean, eventually it will be. So right now I am becoming a dream worker at the Hayden Institute of Dreams.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the certification because every time I go to programming about dreams and dream work, I'm probably like the only Black person, if not, and usually one of the few people who are under 40 years old. And I feel like dreaming is such an important thing. We start doing it like early in our childhood.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't think it's something that we should hide away and start exploring, on the second half of life. I think it's something that needs to be accessible to us now.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in my experience, I started lucid dreaming when I was 10 years old. And so I've always been very fascinated by my dreams and what they can teach me. Think of them as stories that have knowledge from the collective conscious and beyond, and even in the divine, that I can use to edify my life and like grow myself as a person and do deep spiritual work. So the point of me going into the Hayden Institute at all was so that I could cultivate knowledge and just bring it back to my community.
Mm.
Because I think that, our dreams are there to guide us, and they are experience that we are meant to share with each other. And I definitely want to see more of that. So my goal is by the end of this year to create a Black Dreamer Circle so that we can talk about all these Jungian psychology ideas that are out there, so that we can talk about the dreams that we're having, how to lucid dream and what to do with our dreams to make the most of them, and even to use them to heal ourselves mentally and physically. And so that's my goal. So I just want to find communities of dreamers,
Yeah.
people who want to talk about these things, because I could go on forever, honestly.
Oh yeah, no, I think there's a lot there, and dreams when it comes to healing, dreams are incredibly helpful, and expression and creativity and reclaiming our voice. Like these are all things that just naturally emerge as we explore our dreams, and so bringing that to the queer Black community sounds incredibly empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually learned so many things about what we can do with our dreams that I didn't know. For example, writing short stories and poetry that encapsulates an image or a tableau from a dream,
Mm.
something that I never considered before. And then the next thing I know, I'm writing like a pontoon, some kind of like difficult structured poem,
Uh-huh.
and it's brilliant. I'm like, wow, if
Ah.
only I had known that I could use my dreams in order to express myself creatively on paper. So
Uh-huh.
that's definitely something that I want to do with other people.
Right, right. One of my guests quoted one of her teachers as saying, who was also a poet, that when somebody suggested that she use her dreams as inspiration for her poems, that she felt like she had been handed a box of jewels.
Yeah,
To think of
it
the
does feel that
dreams,
way.
the jewels. Yeah, yeah. So this is KSQD Santa Cruz, so streaming live at ksqd.org. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit, this is Tuere Khanyisa, and I'd like to have you talk a little bit about lucid dreaming, because you mentioned that you've been a lucid dreamer since 10 years old. My goodness, that's, what was it in response to nightmares, or how did you get started with that?
Well, it was a couple of things. When I was younger, I had been reading Goosebumps books as a
Mm.
dare. You will write a passage when you first delve into horror, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm really tough," but I wasn't tough.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Mm.
I found that those books were kind of really scary for me. And my first lucid experience was being in the setting of one of those books and running in the forest and being very afraid that I was going to be pursued and captured by this huge hulking camp counselor. There's
Mm.
this weird Goosebumps book called Camp Jelly Camp or something like that.
Hmm.
And so I was in that book. I really believed that. And when he turned toward me and looked at me and was chasing me, I just said to myself, you have to wake up. You have to wake up.
Mm.
You must. And I was just 10 years old, and I opened my eyes. And at first, I could see like these slits of light. And then my eyes started opening more, and I was awake. And it occurred to me that I have control over my dreams, at least some control over my dreams. And from that point forward, I was able to leverage that and learn more about that and cultivate that. In my family, my dad has dreams that give him ideas or inspiration for ways that he should handle situations.
Mm-hmm.
And on my mom's side of the family, I have had an aunt who passed away. Unfortunately, she passed away on my birthday,
Oh.
but she was a prolific dreamer and even predicted the exact day that I would be born,
Oh,
which
wow.
is
Wow.
very wild. So I
Yeah.
consider my ability to lucid dream a gift that she's given me, and something that comes from both sides of my family, or just my gift for dreaming, period. And I just want to be able to share it with others. So a lot of people wonder, how can I get started lucid dreaming?
Yeah.
And the very first step is wake yourself up.
Uh, but the thing is, you have to know you're sleeping. That's the hard part for me. It's like to recognize that I'm not awake, because it seems so normal in a dream, even the things that are totally crazy happening around me. It just seems like, oh, this is just what's happening.
Yeah, well, so my way of, mitigating that was like in high school, I took a theory of knowledge class. And in this class, we were supposed to be learning about critical thinking and philosophers and stuff, and we did. But we also had this strange man that was not affiliated with the school at all, who brought these, like a whole bunch of occult books to us, like these weird, ooky kooky, spooky books. And in one of these books, I read about lucid dreaming.
Uh,
And it was giving, and I was like, wow, there's a name for this thing that I do. I did not know that I was not, I thought it was the only one who was doing this. And it suggests that you put markers on yourself so that you can do consciousness checks.
like in
So like a
waking life.
C,
Like in waking
yeah,
life.
in your
Oh,
waking life,
okay.
like a C on your hand for I'm conscious, so that
Yeah.
when you're dreaming, you can look, and if you don't have that C, then you can assume that you're not conscious and then wake
Yeah.
yourself up. So I guess you're right.
Oh.
There's a pre-step to the first step, which
Right.
is
Yeah. I mean, even that
to
moment
check
being
for
chased by the
lucidity.
counselor, like to recognize that this is not, that I can wake myself up. That's the part where I have a hard time. I have never heard this thing of writing on yourself, putting a letter C in your hand. Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
really good. I
Mhm.
mean, some people suggest looking at a clock, but I don't often have access to a clock in my dreams. But something that I do always have access to are my hands.
True.
So I typically count all of my fingers, and if I can get to 10, then I'm awake. And if I cannot get to 10, I'm probably something's wrong, or
Or if
I'm
there's more
probably
than 10, that happens too. I
right,
hear
or probably sleeping.
it.
So that's what I would suggest to people who are just like starting their journey of lucidity, and testing for lucidity throughout the day. Like, for example, I have like triggers, things that trigger me to ask myself, am I sleeping? Like if something absurd is happening, I
Mm.
immediately count my fingers. If something,
Right.
if something very wild or loud or sharp is going on, I immediately check for lucidity. And two of my favorite things to think of, as I mentioned, is absurdity and fear. If I'm afraid, then the first thing I think of is, am I sleeping? And usually I am.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, although certain things do happen in waking life too, as more and more seems to be the
Mhm.
case. Yeah, so I mean, absurdity. So you're using absurdity as a chance to like count the fingers. But now tell me some of your lucid dreaming experiences. There's a dream that you and I talked about, but I told you not to tell it to me because I wanted to hear it live on the air, which is called The Devil and the Two Portals. I wonder if that's something that you feel like talking about at this point, or if there's another dream
Oh,
that's more
wow.
alive for you right now.
That dream was so intense.
Uh-huh.
It's actually a little scary. Would it be okay for me to tell it, even if it is scary?
Yeah, I think scary's fine. I mean, it's a lot of people have scary dreams, and so I think that it's good to model that we all have scary dreams, and it's okay. It's natural. It's not
I think
okay.
so
It doesn't
too.
feel good, but it's natural.
Okay. Well, I'll tell this dream. Also, if you're easily spooked out, then don't listen to this
Okay.
part. Just close your ears for like 3 minutes, and then
Okay.
you can open your ears back up again. So, in this dream is called "The Devil and the Two Portals," and it starts this way. So, there's a man or a creature that's killing little black girls in the
Mm,
community, and the murders are very brutal and frightening.
mm,
They're very bloody, disgusting, and terrifying. And the person in me that always wants to help thinks, what is it that I can do?
mm,
No one is going to do anything about this, so I need to do something to prevent what's happening. Whatever this thing is, it's possessed or covered in sores or bleeding or something, and it looks like a bat or some kind of scraggly thing, something that you would never want to see on a dark night.
mm,
And in this dream, I faced off with this imp or creature 2 or 3 different times, but each time it was able to get away from me and continued its streak of butchering and harming people.
mm.
And at that point, I realized that I actually needed help. So in the dream, one of my companions in my dream group at Hayden, Brittany, came and she helped me tackle this difficult job of trying to take down this predator. But even though he was threatening to hurt more people and trying to mock us, and even in the dream trying to pit us against each other or seduce us to let him go, we continue to be steadfast. And every time we would try to fight him, he would continue to slip away. So we decided that we were going to chop him up.
Mm.
This is so horrible. But
Oh,
this was the only thing that we could think to do, was to
right.
chop him up and separate him in pieces and basically get rid of him, scatter him, because we wanted to protect our community.
Mm.
Well, when we did that, it didn't actually end up completely killing him. In fact, I considered that he might be able to reconstitute himself because of the nature of his crimes. So I asked the dream to help me dispose of this being, this creature, this beast, this monster, this shadow element.
Hmm.
And my dream created this theater, almost like a theater you would go to see a play in. And I went in there, and there were lots of different seats in the stadium, and there was no one there. And when I walked inside, there were these two giant portals. One was red and one was blue. And they were like, obviously going into a different plane of existence. If you went into that portal, you're not going to come back to
Mm.
the other side again.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. It's a one-way ticket.
Hmm.
So I walked in there, and I was a little intimidated by what I was seeing. But when I turned around, I realized that there were cameras looking at me in the dream. So it made me think that my consciousness is observing me. It's observing, how am I going to handle this situation? Am I going to run away from a responsibility, or am I going to take radical responsibility for a difficult position that I'm in?
Hmm.
So I went inside, and I ended up going to the portal on the right and putting the beast, or the creature, into the portal. And somehow I could see beyond the veil of the portal, and there were these small egg-shaped creatures that were all banished there.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't know what this thing is, but I'm going to put this whole creature in there, not one half in one side and the other half in the other side. And once I did that, some kind of light went off, as if like a warning sign that something terrible had happened. Like, ultimately I had made a mistake even in disposing it of this creature, and I realized that mistake immediately. So instead of quickly leaving, I went to the
Mm.
I went to the bar of the theater, and I asked these three black women if they would help me. And these women were in their 40s and 50s, but because I was so abrupt, I'm from the South. You have to say, "Hello, good morning. How are you, ma'am? Is there a moment? Do you have a moment that I can ask you a question?" I didn't do that. I was like, "Help, help, help, help."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Okay, well, you didn't ask us in a respectful way, so but we'll handle this situation for you. All you have to do is eat this plate of food, and then you may leave."
Oh,
And I said, "Okay,
okay.
whatever you need me to do." So they served me the food, and I nodded, now being very much on my P's and Q's respectfully. And they said that they would handle the situation, and I left. And that was my experience with this terrifying creature, and its disposal, and the fact that in this story, it was not up to me alone to handle it. In fact, it was because of my community that I was able to resolve this issue that was attacking the community.
That's one of the things I
So,
really love about this dream. My goodness, Tuere, is that there's so much help, and that you ask for help, repeatedly and in different ways, and there's sometimes a little hesitation, but they always say yes. I mean, for me, I've had such a hard time asking for help, and here you're just immediately like, okay, you can help me now. Please help me now. I'll try to ask better, but just help me now.
yeah.
And the community, yes, the way you say that, that's the community that is so uplifting, that actually helps you survive, and they nourish you, give you this food.
Yeah, they do. They do. So yes, it was a very interesting dream for me. And I find that in my dreams, when I have battles or conflicts with entities or creatures that are frightening, there's really just two ways to handle it for me. One is I have to face or combat the thing head on.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, I can embrace the thing and say, "I love you. I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so glad that you are part of me. And I cherish you so much." And hug it or hold its hand.
Even if it's
And
a horrible thing.
oh yes, even when it's horrible, eyeballs all over it and
Oh.
crawling with all kinds of creatures. I'm like, let's hug it out.
Oh.
And once I do that, 10 times out of 10,
Wow.
whatever this energy is that needs to be dissipated is dissipated. Whatever transformation that needs to happen for this creature or this entity is able to happen. It's as if by facing a fearful thing, you free it. And by loving something that's full of hate, it becomes love again. Everything exists on poles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love and hate is on the same pole. And when you give something hateful love, it has to move.
Wow. Yeah, this really feels like something about the way that you manifest in the waking world too. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
dreams,
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing of Black Femme Brunch. Here we are. Let's do it. Let's. And I want to talk about pleasure. Like, what is pleasure there, that we get to, like, that you're, by embracing these really painful shadow parts, or whatever you want to call them, these horrible creatures covered with eyeballs and devils and all that that they become allies.
Yeah, they do. I think that the important part about pleasure is that it is what sustains us.
Oh.
And we've been taught throughout our whole lives to disdain pleasure. We've been saying, "Oh, you're being fast," or "She's too free," or "She needs to cover up," or "He plays around too much. He's too goofy." But it's really those things, that spirit of exploration and joy and laughter and absurdity and community and love, that makes this whole human experience worth the trouble in the first place. And we really have to continue to return to pleasure. When we are depressed and we are down and we are feeling like, I can't even do this world another day, if we return to pleasure, there will be a reason for us to continue on. And that's why I create these places to sustain Black and queer and trans people who are going through it, and even some who are not, who are celebrating and living their best life. It's the pleasure. It's that knowing what makes us happy, and tapping into that unapologetically without any remorse for what it looks like or what people will say, that makes it possible for us to fully be human and fully be ourselves.
Yeah, like, that's, what are we fighting for if not pleasure and satisfaction and all those good things in life?
Yeah, I agree. And
Mm-hmm.
some people have really lost the plot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I look at politics, and not to go too deeply in it, but some people are so passionate about their politics or making sure other people don't get things that I wonder if they ever smile. Like, I wonder
Yeah.
if they
Right.
ever have fun or freedom.
Mm.
I feel like if they were able to tap into that, maybe they would be more supportive of other people having it too.
Mm. That's wonderful. So my guest today is Tuere Khanyisa. This is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and you're listening to The Squid. K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. Tony Rissimano is here in the studio, so the phones are now open. You're welcome to call in with a question or a dream to share, either for me or for Tuere. And the phone number is 831-900-5773. You can also send an email to onair@ksqd.org. That phone number again is 831-900-5773. All right, this is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and my guest today is Tuere Khanyisa, and she is the founder of the Black Femme Brunch and a dream worker as well. This is the Squid, the K-Squid 90.7 FM, and also the phones are open. If anybody would like to call, the number is 831-900-5773, or you can send an email to onair@ksqd.org. What is your experience with queerness? What is your experience with pleasure? What about nightmares and lucid dreams? We've got a lot of topics on the table today. Give us a call and share your story, 831-900-5773. So, Tuere, hello.
Hi.
So I'm still resonating about that devil and the two portals dream, and the intensity of that combined with a woman who's so passionate about pleasure. I just want to just put out that kind of a paradox, or I don't know what it is, but just to put that out there, that this is one of the things that I'm mulling over.
Yeah, I think in that dream, I felt something like a radical responsibility for protecting folks. And I think that pleasure is also a radical responsibility. You know, we are really responsible for our own lives, our own joy, creating and crafting a paradise that we feel affirmed, that we feel loved, that we feel held. It's really our responsibility at the end of the day. Sometimes folks will say, I wish I had this person's life, or I wish I had that person's life. But honestly, you have the life that you have, and it's really your job to craft a life that is worth living and that feels good. And mainly it feels good.
Right. Okay, there's so much shame about feeling good. Like, how dare you feel good when your mother's working so hard, or, that's what's wrong with you, that you're not more serious. I mean, there's really a huge shame. And so I love that you're really reclaiming pleasure as a good thing. It's not self-indulgence necessarily. Or like, how would you distinguish self-indulgence from pleasure? Or does it matter? Like, maybe there's times when we do get to indulge ourselves as long as it's not hurting anybody else. Or, I have all these caveats I keep throwing in my head, this mental caveats. Help me, Tuere. What do you recommend?
I think it's self-sustaining. I think pleasure is like, a lot of our mothers worked so hard all their lives. And when I was a child, I would look at the maternal figures in my life, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do that.
Right, it's true. Being a grown-up doesn't look like much fun, does it?
Not at all. I was like, if being a woman means that I'm going to have to work 17 times as hard, I don't know. I don't know if that's the life for me.
Right.
But it's really also about just like choosing your own roles in life. I mean, one thing that made me realize that my identity is not just like a woman, but like non-binary, is that I just wanted to create a definition for my role in this world that was strictly based off of my own needs and what makes me feel free, what makes me tick. And neither being woman or being man was enough for me. I'm just going to be an alien superstar. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to do it all. And I think that's where it starts. I don't even think that people who are quote unquote indulgent, maybe they need to be more indulgent.
Mm.
Maybe people who think folks are that are too indulgent need to be more excessive. Especially if you look at, as I said, everything's
Wait
on
a
a
minute, wait a
pole.
minute. Sorry, my mind just stopped. Can you say that again? What do you mean? Say more. What?
I mean, like people who are like, "Oh, this person's having too much fun."
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they aren't having any fun.
Oh, they're working too
You
hard or
know,
something. Or what?
they're working too hard.
Ah,
And as I said before, everything is on a pole, love and hate, right?
yeah.
Excess and scarcity, or abundance and scarcity are on a pole too.
Hmm.
And so if you feel like someone is having too much fun or too much pleasure or too much abundance in their life, I think it's time for you to slide yourself closer to that too.
Maybe you're just
It might,
jealous of that.
maybe you're jealous, or yeah, or maybe
uh,
you express your excess or your abundance in overworking or
ooh.
overcommitting
Uh-huh.
or over caring.
Mm.
And maybe you should give yourself that work, and that's yourself that commitment and yourself that care. And see if that doesn't lighten you, to see if that doesn't make you feel better, see if
Mm.
that doesn't make you feel more free.
Mm. What makes me feel free? What a great question. Oh my goodness.
What does make you feel free?
Oh, are you asking me personally?
Yeah, what do
Uh-oh.
you think?
Yikes. On the spot. Oh, good. Thank you for putting me up. What makes me feel free? Well, I must say that for me, being with friends is really a huge thing, and that I really love to have people over to my house so I don't have to drive anywhere when we're done. And I
Hmm.
do pretty regularly host gatherings, and just to swim in the pool, be around the bonfire, and just being with people or have dinner together. And it just like lifts me out of myself, and I feel like I can, I don't know, I can soar. I don't know. There's something that feels really good about that, and music's a big part of that. Or they're listening to music. I'm starting to play music more. I'm just fingering some calluses on my fingers. I've been actually bringing out my ukulele.
Wow.
And so it's been kind of scary and fun too. So those are some of the things that float my boat.
Wow, those are some fantastic things. Those are some really solid things.
Well, I'm really blessed to have a space where I can host people, and to have these amazing friends. And of course, we cultivate friends. We choose who we want to be with. And I sometimes joke with my husband that half the reason I married him, he's got such great friends.
Aw. See, so community is really important to you,
Totally,
and
very
I
important.
think that that might be the type of pleasure that really sustains you, and it's
Uh,
really important to know what that pleasure is for yourself.
uh,
And when you do know that pleasure, what that is for yourself, you don't really worry about what floats other people's boats
right,
as
right.
much.
Well, it's interesting how the dreams and then bring in for me like the ways that I'm sinking my boat. like this dream. I'm not sure if you heard at the top of the hour the dream I shared about thinking I was going to be prosecuted, like I was going to court to be sent to jail, or that I was going to be judged,
Hmm.
and yet there's no evidence in the dream that anything like that is happening. And that I'm just walking down this hallway and I'm feeling all depressed because I'm gonna have to go to court, and they're gonna tell me all my crimes, but I see that's like on my mind, that's on the left, and then but all those doors are closed, and then on the right there's all these open doors, and there's like swimming pools, like several different swimming pools in different rooms, and I'm like, what? And there's a sense like this is like maybe a hospital. I don't know. They have I maybe see a nurse or something. So there's no evidence for this whole idea that I'm going to be judged. And yet I think that's the way that I talk to myself. I think I judge myself a lot. And that's one of the ways I sink my own happiness.
Yeah, I think that it's really important to keep balance in our minds. Like, it's so easy to become self-accusing. Like,
Yeah.
you've done this wrong, you've done that
Oh, right.
wrong. But it's really important to in that community of yourself. There's a really good book called Community of Self that talks about the different portions of our mentality of our mind.
Hmm.
But it's really important to come out of accusing yourself and think to yourself, what is my inner me trying to express to me with this quote unquote accusation?
Hmm.
And it might be that really you're supposed to discover that you've not done anything wrong. In
Yeah.
fact, when you told me about your community and how much you love hanging out and swimming, maybe it was an invitation to leave behind the judging, the judgmentalness, and just go be suspended in the freedom of the water.
Oh, there is a freedom in the water, that's for sure. Well, you probably heard our announcement. There's a big heat wave going on here, and we are definitely getting together to be in the pool. We'll be in the pool a lot this weekend, with just our little group, and then also with a bigger group. And so this is it's an interesting way to think about pools and dreams, because they do show up a lot for me. Pools and all kinds of swimming and water, to be suspended, suspending my judgment. Ooh, that just popped. That's an aha. Am I willing to suspend my judgment and just to float and be supported? Because I don't go into those pool rooms. I could. I'm like, oh, where's the courtroom? I've got to go to the courtroom. Like, well, but there's all these pools. Here's another one.
Yes. The one thing I really love about swimming, just like I swim, and one thing I really love about swimming is just the support of it all.
Yeah.
If you think about it, where else are you that supported?
It's true. It's true. I tell you, as I've gotten older, I float better too. I'm not sure why that is, but I do float really well these days. Yeah. And it's like, it's because you're not, like when it comes to like exercise, you're not damaging your joints. It's a really healthy way to, take care of your body and all that. So that's a great way to think about pools in dreams and in waking life too. So,
yeah, I think when I go swimming, like I often think about stuff that I need to let go as I'm swimming. And I visualize that I'm leaving it behind me.
Okay.
Gotta leave it behind me. And at the end, I feel so much lighter. It's not just a physical thing for me. It's like a moving meditation, I think. And I really wish that more people had access to pools, had access to safe swimming spaces, and things like that, because there's so much freedom in movement, so much freedom in what you can do with your body. Especially me, like I'm a fat person, I'm heavy, but when I'm in the ocean, I'm in the water, I'm a dolphin, honey.
Right. Yeah, it's like, well, just think of those the sea lions. Like they got layers and layers of fat, because that's really what they need to survive and to float and stay warm in the ocean. So that's like that's their element, and so. That's the swimming, like me too. Like that's what I'm hinting. It's funny how I don't dare say, well, because I've gained some weight, I float better. Like, but that's the truth.
Yeah, you got the keys.
Yeah.
That's what you needed to be able to float better, right? And it's also not just, I gained weight. You've become more abundant.
Thank you for that reframing. It's all about reframing, isn't it? That's great. Well, I just want to invite the callers, because there's still time for somebody to call in if you'd like to share a dream or ask a question or just share a celebration. The number is 831-900-5773. That's 900 KSQD in the Santa Cruz area. And this is the Dream Journal on K-Squid 90.7 FM. And my guest today is Tuere Khanyisa. And where are you located? Are you still in the North Carolina area?
Yes, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
You're in Charlotte. Oh, okay. So I bet it's pretty hot there during a large part of the year.
Oh, it's quite toasty. And lately it's been raining at 5 o'clock, like at rush hour almost every day. Oh. So I don't know what the weather is going through, but I support it. I think it's great.
Oh, okay. So one of the things I was curious about is that you talked about, when we chatted before, you talked about using dreams to travel or to meditate. So is this part of like a lucid dreaming practice where you can make some choices to meditate or go somewhere?
Yeah. In my lucid dreaming practice, I make decisions all the time. And I really wish I could find more people to talk to about this. But it's like in the lucid dream or in the dream, I'll become lucid at some point. Right. And then there'll be an obstacle or something that I need to figure out. And I'll literally think about my options of like what I can do. And then I'll do something. That'll change the dream. And then there'll be another thing. And I'll literally come up with like a toolkit of things that I could respond with. And then I'll continue on. And it keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. Also, meditation is really fun in dreams. It's just like this calming moment of zen and connectedness that happens. And I'm not sure how to explain it, but just sitting down to be restful and be in your body while you're dreaming is something that can be really transformative. Or even asking your dream to give you a moment of blank. Like, I would like a moment of extreme joy, or I would like a moment of divine inspiration, a moment of intense pleasure. I would like to explore these different emotions. And even if they only happen in a flash, they can be very, very, very incredible and wonderful and fantastic.
Well,
I really think that people should give it a shot.
Opportunity for pleasure. Hey, Tuere, we have a caller on the line. We have Ellen from Soquel. Hello, Ellen.
Hi, Catherine.
Hey, good to have you on the show. What can we do for you? What do you have?
It's been a while.
It has been a while. I was going to say you were a regular caller for a while.
I know. At the beginning, when I first heard about your show, I was like, oh, my gosh, this is amazing that there's such a local show about dreams. Yeah, I was super busy all last year teaching, and but now I had my knee replaced, so I'm hanging around and sleeping in. And, of course, when you sleep in longer, instead of waking up early, it makes you have more REM time, and so dreams are become a regular thing.
That's true. Sleeping in is definitely a good way to increase dream recall.
So a couple of days ago, it says August 29th, I actually took the time to write it down. It was a very minor little scene, but it was a disturbing scene. Not super, super disturbing, not like your crazy dream that you shared a little bit.
Right, not like the devil with two portals.
But you're right, exactly. But in this dream, so I know my I probably won't even use my daughter's name, but I still live with my daughter, or she still lives with me. She's 23, and she's always like, I'm going to be out of here in a year. So it's really hard to relive. It's considered the second most expensive place in the whole USA. So anyway, we still live together. She's busy working all the time, and I'm just been hanging around working on writing a memoir, actually. So I had this dream where the scary thing, okay, so I'll just read it because I wrote it down. It's only 2 paragraphs here. So I'm just going to skip right saying her name because she might not want. And she's very private. So my daughter's going on a school field trip. I would say that at the age she's probably maybe like middle school age in this dream. Yeah, not quite high school.
Okay.
So she gets on a bus, it's a school bus, with some friends, and I'm outside the bus. I peer through the back window of the bus, and I can see her getting on the bus, sitting about midway back, and I even see the detail that she's on my left side of looking from the back in, so she would be on the right side of the bus. And she's sitting next to a couple of friends, and she's on the aisle seat, I don't know what. And I only see her from the back, and she's laughing. I see her long dark hair. And so I'm still just looking through the bus, and then I see this other girl rushing in and taking that very back seat. And the back seat was just an alone seat, sitting alone. Uh-huh. And I'm thinking, like if I was that age, that's probably the seat I might have wanted to take as a teenager. Sitting on the back of the bus.
With the alone seat?
Yeah, and I don't know why there's that detail in the bus at all, in the dream at all. But anyway, I go around the bus, and I enter at the front door, and I guess I'm going in to say goodbye to my daughter and wish her a good trip. And I guess like a field trip or something. And when I get into the bus and look at that midway seat, I don't see her, and I look around, and I don't see her anywhere, so I call her name a couple more than once, and there's no answer. And call a few more times, and maybe some other people on the bus are calling her name now, but she's nowhere around, and I'm really confused, and I'm wondering, like, why would she skip out on the field trip, and where did she go, and why? And I mean, as a mother, that's just kind of a little bit of a paranoia dream, even though now she's all grown up and doing her own thing, and so it's kind of weird, like. She's not young, so I can imagine a parent having a dream like that when their kids are young, where they feel like they're so responsible. But it just seems funny that I had a dream like that just a few days ago.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, yeah. Tuere, I wonder if you have any thoughts about the dream or any questions to ask.
In this dream with your daughter, what was like, it seems like her attitude is revelatory, like she's happy. Is that the impression you got before she was no longer in the dream?
Yeah, definitely. She always was, as growing up, she was always really happy hanging out with her friends. She always had a little posse of friends. I mean, that was one thing as a mother I was very grateful for, but that both my kids were very accepted by their peers and, appreciated by, none of them neither of my two children ever dealt with like I can't even say the word, being ostracized by their peers, right, or, any of that. So that's how I saw her in the dream. Like sharing a lot, but in general, and she always seems on the outside very happy-go-lucky, but I know on the inside that she does have more internal angst that that she's very private about and doesn't share to the public.
That's interesting. I think in this dream, because you mentioned that if it were you would like to sit in the alone seat, but then in the dream when you go toward the front of the bus and she's not there and you are alone, it's like, what? It's stunning and not what you expect. So I wonder if in the dream it's sort of pointing to like you wanting to continue your connection with your daughter, even though she's traveling to different parts of her life or moving through from one space of like young adulthood to like fully adulthood. Do you still want to maintain and keep that connection with her and with the community of people who are searching for her? So if it were me, I would, plan a little girls trip together and do something really fun or cute with each other, just to reaffirm that bond that you have with her, and just show your dream self that you are listening and that you do want to maintain this closeness. You do want to maintain this connection.
Wow, you know what? I never would think that sharing such a short little dream, and it's short, but I wrote it down because, it's one of those dreams that left me with a funny feeling, like, whoa, what's that about? But wow, I just feel like you hit the nail on the head because I feel part of her whole inner self is that she's very private and, she works really long hours. She's in the wedding business, I guess. Yeah. And so sometimes it's like 12-hour days. And then when she comes home, it's so late. And then she just goes in her room. And then the next day she's gone again. So we hardly ever see each other, which is the truth. And she's not really open to wanting to spend time with me, if she had a day off. So but you hit the head when you said that.
Have you asked her? I mean, have you specifically? You don't have to even tell her the dream if you don't want to. You can just say,
no, I
haven't. Or you could if you want to. It's just a choice.
Right. No, I haven't shared the dream with her. But that's the thing is that.
Or
you're right,
I've actually meant mostly to ask whether you've shared your desire to spend time with her during her day.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you hit the nail on the head because I feel so separated from her, even though we live under the same roof. Like I don't feel a connection that I would like to, because a lot of times she just wants to be by herself.
Wow.
Well, you tell her, look, really pack your bags, honey. We're going on a nice dinner and we're going to see a movie together.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Wow, that's so powerful, because that's exactly what I feel like you're right. I need to have that connection with her. So maybe that's where it's at. Like, where is she at? She's here, but she's not here,
Where are you? Yeah.
All right, that really gave me a lot of clarity. I really appreciate that.
Well, Ellen, I'm so glad you called. Tuere, thank you. And Ellen, I'm really glad that you called in, and hope your recovery from your surgery goes well, and maybe we'll hear from you again another day.
All right. Thank you so much, Catherine. Okay. Thank you. And Tuere, thank you so much. That really was very, very helpful. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Nice. Oh, I love talking about people's dreams. This is my favorite thing.
Isn't it? And it's just, there's these threads, and you really got a wonderful connection there to something really important. The way dreams do, things that are important that we haven't quite brought to consciousness yet.
Yeah, they really do give us these little short fairy tales and these stories about ourselves. And if we can just look at the characters and what they need and what they yearn for, half the time it's probably what we need or what we yearn for, or maybe something that we need to pull back on. Either way.
So, Tuere, I'd wonder if you could share with folks your contact info. You mentioned an Instagram account. Is that the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Anybody who's Black, queer, and trans, or has friends who are Black, queer, and trans and want to tell them about it, please go to Black Femme Brunch on IG is BLK Femme, FEMME Brunch, BRUNCH. And follow our page. We always put on programming, all types of pleasure practice things, play parties, times for connection, just regular dance parties, hangouts, just places and avenues to connect and meet people who are like you. And we also make sure that we don't leave our introverts behind. So if you're a very introverted or shy person, we absolutely make a point to be sure that you can connect with other folks. And if you've never been into a queer space before and you are queer, or if you've never been into a place that's centering trans people and you are trans, just come and give us a shot.
Wow.
So we really love welcoming new folks.
Fabulous. That's Black Femme Brunch. Is that BLK or BLCK?
BLK on IG.
BLK, Femme Brunch, FEMME. Okay, great. Thank you. And I wonder if you have any final thoughts for our listeners that you'd like to share.
Yeah, write your dreams down. They mean something.
Just do it already. Do it. Write them down.
Do it.
Thank you so much, Tuere, and take care. I will be seeing you one of these Mondays or so. We're at a class together on a Mondays about a Jungian class, and I hope to see you there one of these days soon.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't miss it. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Okay, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye now. So to next week, we will be talking to author Kathleen Millett Johnson about her book, The Year of the Onion, in which she spends a year, which is a journey with cancer, and how she used dreams and so many other healing modalities to get her through that year. So you can tune in and listen to the live broadcast on Saturday at 10 a.m. or catch the podcast replay, which will be released, as always, on the Monday following the show. I am Catherine Bell. This has been the Dream Journal. Thanks for listening. You can find out about my own dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at catherine@ksqd.org. That's KATHERINE@ksqd.org. Please contact me so we can talk about dreams and so I can let you know about my upcoming dream offerings, like my Monday workshops, which have been so much fun lately. Thanks to folks who left the review on Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. I'd like to thank Rick Cleffel, engineer and music creator. He wrote Water Over Stones, the intro music, and this is called Everything, the outro music. You can find that ambient music at pandemia.com. Thanks to Tony Russimano for the phones, Eva Milady for audio editing, and all of our donors. K-Squid is 100% listener supported. You can donate at ksqd.org. Be sure to tell them you are a Dream Journal listener. Join me again next Saturday at 10. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell, and you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz.
But much more is right. We see in the darkness by shine.